All right, so here we have the Anchorage terminal area. This is on the side of the terminal area chart. As you can see, it is quite a mess here in Anchorage. We have multiple airports. We have an Air Force base, an international airport that gets a lot of heavy 747 traffic. We have the busiest seaplane base in the world at Lake Hood. And then we also have Merrill Airport. So the reason this is Part 93 and it's so complicated is this airspace is really complicated and probably, honestly, should be a Class Bravo. However, Class Bravo comes with the need for ADS-B, the need for Mode C, and if you have an airplane without an electrical system, that keeps you from getting to Anchorage, and that'd be bad for a lot of the flying public. So we've kept this Class Delta and Class Charlie. You can get in and out with a handheld, which is pretty nice. We'll talk first about the inlet departure. The inlet departure is what you want to take if you're like going to Talkeetna, something like that. And the whole point is to avoid the ILS going into Elmendorf. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the inlet departure here. Here's the plate. Make sure you're familiar with this plate. It is in the supplement under Merrill Field departure and arrival procedures. It has a textual description of it. And some of these altitudes do change on occasion. Notice you have to be over 2,200 feet crossing mid-channel there. All right, so here's Merrill Field. You're going to take off runway 25, and you're basically going to fly just like you're doing a normal left-hand pattern. You're going to look for that highway, turn there, turn over 15th. Now you're going to fly to abeam the tower, or 1,300 feet. You're going to turn left again. You're going to keep climbing. It's going to be pretty fast once you make this left, and you'll see over there on the left the park strip. So you're going to turn towards the park strip, overfly that area there. You can't miss it. It's used to be an airport, in fact. Overfly that, and then you are going to make sure you're going to get to 2,200 feet by mid-channel. Stay below 2,500 feet. We're going to look, here's Point McKenzie, here's Point No Name. You need to be somewhere in between those two areas. I'll go ahead and highlight the edge of the Merrill Field airspace. This line here is the start of the Class Charlie. You probably should be talking to approach in this area. It's got a lot of traffic. I'm going to put in this orange line. This is why we're doing all these weird procedures. This is the ILS into Elmendorf that's most common. So you're actually going to be over that final approach course. Now, when you go ahead and contact ground for the first time at Merrill, this is when you want to request what departure you're on. In this case, I've asked for an inlet departure. They gave me taxi instructions. I've taxied up to the line, and I'm about to get my takeoff clearance.
Cessna 52950, inlet departure, runway 25, cleared for takeoff, wind 280 at 5.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 25, 52950, flying inlet departure. All right, so the first step of the inlet departure, we're on runway 25. We're just going to go ahead and take off like normal to the west.
Airspeed's alive. Instruments are green, 55, rotate.
Okay, so the first thing we want to look for, just like when we were flying the normal left-hand pattern, at the end of the runway, we're going to see Campbell, Ingra, and that's where you're going to go ahead and turn your crosswind. So I'll go ahead and start my crosswind turn here, just like flying a normal pattern, and you can see those two big roads and how they come together. That is the Seward Highway heading out of town. So right there. You're going to go ahead and continue on until you get basically to the south side of the field. We'll see 15th Avenue, just like the normal pattern. Depending on your airplane, at this point you're probably like 900 feet. You're just going to keep climbing instead of leveling out at 900 feet like a normal pattern. You're going to fly along this road, and what you're looking for is either 1,300 feet or abeam the tower, whichever comes first. And you're going to go ahead and make another left turn, and you're going to basically fly kind of directly over the field, but not quite to the runway. So here is my second to last turn here, and we don't go very far. And it's almost, we just keep turning, depending on the wind. If there's a strong north wind, you might fly a little farther. And you'll see there is the park strip. You can't miss it. You want to overfly the park strip.
All right, so we got to be 2,200 feet by mid-channel. If we're not going to get there, we got to contact them. We're at 1,600 now, climbing pretty good. So I'm going to be flying.
Helicopter 8.
All right, so here we are heading towards the downtown shoreline. You want to contact approach somewhere in here. I'm going to pause it for a sec. You can see Point Mackenzie on the left, Point No Name on the right. You got to be between those two. Generally, you're going to stay on the left side. Inbound traffic's going to be over there on your right on the north side of this. Make sure to contact departure before you get to the shoreline. If they forget about you at tower, feel free to ask them. And head out on your way. That is the inlet departure. So let's just talk about if we're going towards the mountains, we do an eastbound departure. Here's the sectional. We have Merrill Field here. Normally we're taking off 25 Merrill Field. And the trick to the eastbound, normally they'll put you on a right downwind and then have you go along. And you notice that right pattern is very, very tight. And so here's the sectional. We can remove the sectional. I put a line right on where that edge of that airspace is. Let's go ahead and remove the sectional. And we can see where that is. We can zoom in on the map. You'll notice there's not a great landmark. Maybe the railroad yard a little bit. So you want to stay to the right-hand side of the railroad yard. The other thing to look for is you see that highway going out of town, that little straight section. That straight section there is the edge of your airspace. All right, so let's just take a look at what this looks like inside of the airplane. Here we are getting ready to go. This is Kristen's first time in a small plane and actually a flight with my first passenger. So I got the plane on, and we're going to taxi out. Once again, before we taxi, before we get our clearance, I am asking for our departure, which in this case is eastbound.
Merrill Ground, Cessna Skyhawk 98354 at Wings of Freedom for an eastbound departure with Sierra.
Cessna 98354 Merrill Ground. Good evening, runway 25, taxi via Alpha Kilo, right down departure.
All right, right now when departure, taxi to 25 via Alpha Kilo 354.
So you'll notice here I got my departure procedure when I contacted ground, and they do that sometimes. Sometimes they'll give it to you when you're holding short and they clear you to take off. Sometimes they do it before you taxi. So I'm going to fly a right downwind departure. Every once in a while they give you left downwind, and that's just the normal left-hand pattern. But this one's a right downwind departure.
Merrill Tower, Skyhawk 98354, holding short 25 at Kilo, ready for departure.
Skyhawk 98354, Merrill Tower, runway 25, cleared for takeoff.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 25, Skyhawk 98354.
All right, so once again, just a normal takeoff off runway 25. We're going to turn in the same place as we did for the inlet departure, only we're going to turn right. So you're going to look over to your left. You're going to see those two roads come together, just like we did before. And you're going to turn right, and you're going to basically do a continuous right turn unless there's a really, really strong north wind, because we don't want to bust the airspace of the Air Force Base. You'll notice there's that rail yard. We saw that on the map. You can see it straight ahead of us now. You want to make sure you're done with your turn by the time you get to those railroad tracks. There's the railroad tracks, and there is going off in the distance the highway. So just make sure you're staying to the right-hand side of that highway. You'll notice here how close I am to Merrill Field. It's a really tight pattern. It's a tight climbing turn. And then we can just head out on this right downwind and towards the mountains and go have fun. We went and flew Arctic to Indian on this day. It was very beautiful. All right, so let's take a look at Campbell departure. This is what you're going to use when you're going down to the Kenai Peninsula. Here is the plate. You find it in the supplement. We got the route instructions here. Let's see what it looks like on the map. So you're going to go ahead and take off from 25. You're going to do a normal left pattern. And then you are going to go towards the Tudor bus barn. Unfortunately, ForeFlight has the Tudor bus barn in the wrong spot. The way you know it's the Tudor bus barn is it's kind of on the corner of the park and city interface, and there's a bunch of buses there, especially in the summer. You want to keep that road Elmore off your left wing and fly along Elmore. You want to be at 1,200 feet until you get to O'Malley. Purpose of this, we want to separate from the traffic on the other side of Campbell Airstrip. We also want to separate from the traffic going to Lake Hood and anybody going into International. So we see a golf course there, the road on the other side of the golf course. That's O'Malley. You got to be 1,200 feet until you get to O'Malley. Once you cross O'Malley, go ahead and start your climb out. If you're crossing turning an arm, I recommend 3,000 feet. Best way to tell O'Malley also is that curve there, big curve. That's how you can tell it's O'Malley. It's a really big road. It's pretty hard to miss. Start your climb, shoot for 3,000, go over turning an arm. Let's look at what it looks like in the airplane. All right, so once again, we got our clearance. We're taking off like normal. We talked to them on the ground control about doing a Campbell departure. We're going to go and do a normal climb out, and just like we're flying a left-hand pattern, we are going to turn to the left there at kind of where the highway comes together, so we can see that right there. And instead of following that highway out, because remember there's Lake Hood traffic coming in, we're going to fly just a little bit, and then we are going to head towards the Tudor bus barn. In the summer, it's really easy to find. It's where all of the school buses are. This is the winter, so all the kids are at school, and the school buses are driving around picking them up. So there's less school buses here. So it's a little bit harder to find in the winter. You want to look for Tudor. Tudor is the last major road on that big park that's over our nose right now. And so we're kind of shooting for the corner of where that park is. We saw it on the map, and you can see I'm just kind of shooting for that corner of the interface between the city and the park. And basically straight over our nose here. As we get a little closer, I'll pause it. It's a little bit hard to look for, and you'll see that road kind of going through the park, the last big road on the park there, that's Elmore. We want to keep that off of our left wing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause there. We're pointed right at the Tudor bus barn. We can see there's no school buses there, but there's a big empty parking lot. And then we're going to keep flying. There's Elmore. See how it abuts the park there. We're just going to keep that off of our left wing. We're going to stay about 1,200 feet. And here's that golf course that we saw on the map. Once we're over that golf course, there's a road. That road is O'Malley. Once we hit O'Malley, we're free to climb. We're out of the airspace. And this is where we might want to contact departure. If you're flying through the Charlie, which I'm about to, obviously you got to talk to them. Let them know you're on the Campbell departure. And once again, I shoot for about 3,000 feet by mid-channel here. I don't want to go into that water. It looks real bad. So I want to make sure I am gliding distance or more from the water. So let's just take a look at some other departures. This one's probably the most common other one. It's the shoreline departure. It's in the supplement. All these, you can read the book. The point of this is to just climb out straight without having to do that climbing turn to get up and out of Merrill's airspace. And so this one's super straightforward. We're just going to start runway 25. We're going to climb straight ahead, do a slight right turn when we hit the downtown shoreline, and just go across. The downside of this departure is you have to get to 2,200 feet by that mid-channel, and that is typically not something you can do in a Cessna 172 with your typical 320 engine in there. So if you happen to be in like a training aircraft or a 150 or whatever, and you want to do this departure, you can still do it. You just have to ask for what's called an altitude deviation. So on your initial contact with the ground, you're going to ask them for an altitude deviation. When you get your takeoff clearance, they're going to tell you whether it's approved or not. And if it's approved, you can fly at whatever altitude you choose. If it's not, you might want to consider changing your departure to like an inlet. There's a whole bunch of other departures. Most of them are for use with other runways. You can look through. I'm just going to let this run. If you have questions on a specific departure, please let me know. I'm happy to film specific at least landmarks for you. Sometimes these departures are not really used very much. Most of the time you are off runway 25. And if you're using any of these other departures, often it's because your airplane's parked over there and you're pretty familiar. So if you're training at Merrill Field, you're flying in and out of Merrill, runway 25 is your best friend. If you get confused about which one to use, eastbound departure, they're going to tell you a leg of the standard traffic pattern to leave on. That one's pretty nice. It'll at least get you out of the airspace, and you can either go north or south really easily. You're just going to be close to the mountains, so if there's turbulence, you might want to avoid that area. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Let me know if there are other things that I should cover. Hopefully I will be able to do some videos on like Lake Hood and that sort of thing. Just a reminder, I'm not a flight instructor. I'm a ground instructor, not a flight instructor. So if you're doing any of these, just make sure you brief it really well with your flight instructor and make sure you are following what it says in the current edition of the supplement. Because sometimes these change, and I know they are redesigning some of Merrill's airspace. Anyway, hope you all have a good day. Fly safe out there. I will talk to you next time.